Welcome to the pod where spirituality is accessible and exciting.
Do you find yourself drawn to the magical and mystical side of life?
If you're ready to explore and expand your spiritual path,
Then you are in the right place.
I'm Jennafer.
And I'm Lola.
We are modern mystics.
Sometimes I cannot breathe. I'll be coming out. When you look at me like I cannot breathe. I'll be coming out.
So I was in Vegas with a friend of mine.
Any story that starts, I was in Vegas. Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. Here we go. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
You'd think this would have to do with like gambling or something, but it doesn't. We were at an enclosure when Siegfried and Roy were had a residency there.
Okay.
They had this little tiger and dolphin place, so you could go. It was part of the Strip. I think it was near the Mirage or part of the Mirage. Anyway, I was in Vegas at this little wildlife little place.
Right.
And I'm kind of marveling that there's a tiger about 4 feet from me.
Oh my gosh.
There is like a chain link fence between us, but I was like, wow, these guys are close. And also, he could probably jump that if he wanted to. But I was just kind of thinking, and this tiger was very unhappy. He was like, pacing back and forth, and I was just standing there, kind of, I don't know, getting a feel for him and admiring how awesome he was. And all of a sudden, I heard a voice say, "Move to your right now." And I was like, and I didn't do it. I moved to my right immediately. It was very insistent.
Mm-hmm.
And about 5 seconds later, the tiger sprayed. And I would have been covered in tiger urine if I did not listen to my message that said, "Move to your right."
And cat pee smells so bad.
I would have been covered in it. I would have taken me days to get it off.
Yeah, it's like a skunk spray. It's awful.
Yes. And it's so funny because my friend who I went with wasn't even with me at the time. So I had to go tell her that I had just been saved from tiger urine. And it was like this super weird story.
Yeah.
But it is one of the clearest times that I ever got a big warning from my intuition. And I'm very glad I didn't hesitate to listen to it.
Well, and what's so cool?
It would be a very different story if I did.
It would also be funny from over here. It would be an equally great story, but far less fun to endure as a human. But yeah, wow. What I love is those moments when we listen and we immediately see why we needed to listen. Those are rare.
True. Very true.
But really powerful moments to go, oh, I can hear. Oh, I am listening.
Yes.
So,
and that's such a far cry from what intuition is a lot of the time, because we don't always get the results right away or the why right away.
if ever, sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. But I have thought about that so many times in my life as being just glad I didn't stop and doubt or think about it or analyze too much. I just acted. And I really only took like 2 steps to my right.
Right.
But that made all the difference.
Yeah. And what a very different trip to have a cool story versus I have to leave. I have to end this event. I have to go find clothes. Do you have enough clothes to have an extra, right? Like all of the cascade of after had you not listened. So I think it's really cool that we get to talk about practical ways to learn to trust your gut today. That is one of my favorite topics because often we get a little too mystical and I know this is the modern mystic, but there is a practicalness to being a modern mystic for you and I think.
I completely agree. And I really doubt that most intuition is that dramatic. In fact, I could probably give you hundreds of examples where intuition was kind of boring and not even not even halfway exciting, but still steered me in the right direction. And I think one of the best things about being a modern mystic is that you can sort of tap into that and just use it to navigate your everyday life, right? You're not always going to be
Yes.
getting away from a tiger. You're
Tiger Pee. This is a delightful story.
You're not, but you might need to know like a different route to work. You might need to know that somebody needs you to call them right now. You might need to know, oh, I need to approach that differently with that coworker.
Right.
And really intuition is mostly very subtle, but it's definitely an inner compass, like a good navigation guide.
Yes. And there is, to me at least, there's kind of a process to learning that about yourself and being able to trust it, right? This takes time, it takes practice. And so I think okay, blah, blah, blah. I have language, I swear. I know how to speak words out of my mouth. It's amazing. I think for me, that was a big part of the process, is not that I didn't get information all the time. I think a lot of us get information that we're trained intentionally to not listen to.
Absolutely.
I need to stand up and move my body. No, you sit down and be quiet. You're in school.
Yes.
But I need to move. My body needs to move. Doesn't matter. Sit still. Be quiet. Those kinds of things where we're literally training the opposite of listening to ourselves. So there's a bit of undoing some conditioning. And I really like the way you explain the part of the subconscious pattern recognition, what am I trying to say? What's the word? Like the ENS.
Yes.
So
the body just tends to pick up on signals, whether it's from inside or out, right?
yes.
Very subtle clues. Before our brain even really makes sense of them, our body knows. And so a lot of times the ENS, the enteric nervous system, which is referred to as our gut a lot of the time, it really, really helps as far as like gathering information about the internal environment and the external environment, whether it's your own internal need to move or an external force that's asking you to move.
To not get peed on. Right.
Yes.
We have a theme. Who knew? Okay.
There's a lot of science that shows that the ENS is always processing information. And sometimes we can make really quick decisions based on what that nervous system is picking up before we even really understand why. And I think that's why sometimes sometimes people say, I just knew in my gut that wasn't right, or that was right, or I needed to do something about this, or I didn't need to do something, or whatever. And it's really interesting because they show there's a lot of science to show that the gut tends to be kind of like a second brain as far as picking up a lot of different things. And it also contributes a bit to how we perceive different sensations before we're even aware of them. So what I really love is our brain kind of wants us to worry about social cues and whether or not we are being polite or acceptable or appropriate. But our gut is very much, very, very much about making sure that we're safe and that we're very aware of what's going on around us. And together, if we can, learn to listen to them both or have them both talk to each other better, we have a better chance of letting our intuition be a stronger sense.
I really like this idea of some sort of bridge within both types of consciousness, right? Consciousness, where we're obeying the rules that have been conditioned into us, and unconscious consciousness, the gut, the knowingness that's in us, and finding a way to stand, I would say, right between, as the bridge between those two data streams, and being in that flow. That's a modern mystic of I can be rational and reasonable and follow my gut. One of the hardest pieces of this journey for me was this desire, and I think I talked about this last time, to go to like a nunnery and be this Buddhist monk, and that I would really love to do this. But that is not what I'm here to live and do and be. And removing myself from the world, as a lot of mystical people like to do, right? And I get it. I really do enjoy meditating. And I could sit and meditate life away and have these amazing adventures in the other worlds that we can go hang out in the Akashic records for a lifetime. Like, yes, you could do that. And that's not what this lifetime is supposed to be about for me. And I think we're supposed to be getting away from that as modern mystics, that the mystical is supposed to be reintegrating, synthesizing into the everyday life of, I do have to go to work today because food and shelter. So yes, and I can be led by spirit, led by the everything, whatever I want to call it, at the same time. I can do both. So I love this. And the other thing that you said that stands out to me is fear, right? The body is responding to these outward things to keep us safe and secure. That's its job. Stay alive, don't die. And as we're getting deeper into how do we do this, understanding how your body works and what it responds to is entirely foundational, because the information came through to Jennafer, moved 2 steps. It's body. Body needs to move. The information comes through us in this life very attached to this body. And so knowing your body and understanding how your body works and the cues that your body has is a foundational to being able to hear and follow your intuition.
I agree. I feel also like, I don't know about you, but I don't know that everybody even grows up with an awareness or is taught much about the awareness of like trusting themselves or trusting their gut. I feel like there's a lot of things in, I don't know, in storytelling. I definitely heard about like women's intuition when I was growing up. That was something that was thrown around.
Yes.
And then, you watch things like Pinocchio when you're a kid and there's the little conscience of Jiminy Cricket, or there's like the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder in cartoons, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. But really being able to, listen to yourself and see if that makes sense or, resonates with you. I don't know that we really were taught that. I know that the rising generation has been taught that better.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're so right. It's something that we need to integrate, but something that is often kind of mysterious. And also then, aside from those depictions in other entertainment, every time somebody has intuition, it seems like some huge mystical experience, or they have some huge vision or something like that. When really intuition can be incredibly quiet, subtle, just kind of operating in the background, and not really, and not dramatic at all, and not even very mystical, just practical. I think that's important to know.
And it's easy to not listen to it. It's easy to justify it away. We'll get a little inkling and we'll be like, that makes no sense. No. And then a week later, oh crap, I should have listened to that little inkling, right?
Yes.
So that's part of the training. That's part of the learning curve.
So fair. I feel like a lot of times I've learned more by not listening to my intuition than I have by listening to it. So I think both ways are very understandable. But because we don't get a lot of training on this, it's kind of new and people don't understand it as much sometimes. Yeah. And we get kind of nervous about things that are new.
Well, and we can also, like, the flip side of that, because, right, this is a spectrum. Everybody's different, and you're going to fit somewhere in that spectrum. And there are some people that have never not listened to their intuition. I think those are extremely rare. And there are other people that have never listened once to their intuition. I think they're equally rare. I think most people are somewhere in the middle of that and have listened. Like, that voice that's persistent, most people probably would have listened to that because it's weird and it's a voice. What?
Yep.
That's extreme, right? That is one of those extreme situations where it's like, no, I'm going to listen. Like, this is not normal. But before we can get to that point where we're going to be listening more regularly and hearing and walking in tune with both pieces of ourselves, our consciousness and our unconscious intuition, we have to understand our body so we can translate those messages. So one of the things that I wanted to share is just how neural pathways form when it comes to intuition. We can form neural pathways a few ways. One of them is an extreme emotional event will just boom, ingrain into the brain. So witnessing something extremely traumatic will do that. The flip side is true. Witnessing extreme joy, ecstasy, there's a reason the mystics talked about the ecstatic state. This is the extreme joy. It will also encode in the brain as a neural pathway. But most neural pathways are formed with repetition over time. And that is why this is so vital that you test and practice so that the neural pathways will be available when it really matters to move 2 steps.
Absolutely. I love that. I also feel like intuition is something that's meant to be experienced. And that's why understanding your body is so important, because intuition comes through your senses before anything
Yes.
else. And so it's really hard to feel like you understand something, especially intuition, unless you've experienced things. And even though, like I said, not all things are going to be as dramatic as my tiger story, I feel like it's sometimes that feeling that something doesn't fit, or
Yes.
like a weird thought that just pops into your head and it has nothing to do with what you were just thinking about, or maybe you get a little picture in your brain, or sometimes people get physical sensations like little goosebumps,
Yes.
or just a feeling of being like drawn to something or repelled by something, depending on what it is.
Right.
And so just being able to hear that, listen to what your body's trying to say is the most important thing. And I love what you said about everything being sort of integrated, because some people think they need to either be in their logical brain or they need to be in their mystical brain, however you want to say it. And honestly, I feel like they can be very intertwined. It just takes practice.
Yes. Yes. And of note, trauma or conditioning, meaning over and over and over, you spoke up or you tried to follow your intuition as a child, and over you were told, don't do that, can actually encode in the body as, when my intuition goes off, a fear response. So this is why taking the time to, and maybe we just jump to this, journal. Record your daily experiences of, hey, today I felt like I should do this. That seemed crazy to me, so I didn't do it. And then a week later, when you're like, that gotcha moment, oh, I should have done it. Now you have a record and you can start learning how your body talks to you. And your body is not the same every 7 years. All of the cells in your body have been replaced. So it's not like you learn this once and it stays forever. This is an ongoing lifetime journey of, oh, now that's how you deliver that message. And part of it is we're better able to hear. So it's like we level up.
Yes.
I've graduated reading levels in school. I'm now at a grade 7 reading level instead of at a grade 6. Same thing with your intuition. The more proficient we become, we graduate. We can get better data, basically.
Yes. I love the idea of recording, journaling, because first of all, it helps you just stop and notice something enough to jot it down, whether you're
Yes.
keeping a note in your phone or you're writing like in a notebook or whatever. Or even some people do really well voice recording and
Yes.
saying and just doing a quick voice recording on their phone and being like, this thing happened and I don't get it. And then when, what the result is happens, going back and going, oh, that's what that was. There's something really personal about intuition. It does come through our senses, but I feel like it comes through all of the ways that we experience the world, sensory, but also our learning styles too. So a lot of times people who are more visual learners may have more visual intuition, or people that are more kinesthetic learners may have more feeling intuition. And what I love is that it's so personal that you can kind of figure out your own way to go. But journaling is one of those things, or tracking things is one of those awesome things that allows you to pay attention and to kind of see the different ways your intuition's trying to talk to you. And it's almost like kind of coming up with your own map code. There's, whenever I feel goosebumps, that's good. Or whenever I feel my stomach drops, that feels like maybe this isn't right for me. Or, so it helps you over time, not just in the moment to go, oh, that was what that meant, but over time to see, oh, every time that happens, there's something along these lines. And so, again, just tuning into your body and recording things is so important as far as kind of just figuring out how your intuition speaks to you.
Well, and trusting that you're going to record the right things. I think we also get in our heads of, I've got to record every second of every day so that I know how this works. We can get really uptight about it, or we can be too loosey-goosey about it. And, I'll for sure remember that. No, you won't.
It's
No, you
so
won't.
true. You won't.
You won't. You think you will. I've looked back over things that I've kept in the past. And I'm like, wow, I totally forgot about that. Like at the time, it was so profound and huge. No memory of it at all
So
till I
true.
read that, or even if so, you talked about like styles, learning styles, and intuition styles. Even if you make a Pinterest board and that picture symbolizes this, and you write a one-word caption, right? Maybe that's the way for you. Some people are video, make a vlog,
Totally.
right? Like whatever works for you, that you will actually go back and look at that. That's what matters.
Yes.
That you'll have a place that's comfortable for you, that is inviting to you to go back and engage with your past self in this process.
I agree. I also think it helps overcome doubt because
Yes.
a lot of times if we've got a record of something and we can go back and we can even connect the dots through some of our past records, we can see that we weren't overthinking something. In the moment, we can be very worried about that. But then if whatever we were sensing comes to pass, or, we've heeded and we're safe or we're good, then we might go, oh, maybe I need to just listen to that, or I need to just heed that instead of thinking about it too much. Because after you have a certain amount of times where you've listened to your intuition and it's worked out great, why wouldn't you trust it more? And why wouldn't you
Yes.
trust yourself more and doubt yourself a little bit less? And so I feel like it's really good for having courage and having a lot of faith and trust in your intuition to also keep record of it.
Yeah. So one of the ways my intuition works is if something comes 3 times to me, I pay attention.
Fascinating.
And that's a guidepost I set up early on with myself, because I'm a very logical person. I want things to make sense in reality, not just internally to me. That's one of my tests of truth of, does this make logical sense? I don't think the universe is illogical. I think
I
there's
agree.
a reason for things.
Right.
And so,
And maybe you just don't see it right now.
right. So sometimes I don't see the logic, but if it comes 3 times, I will listen even if it's illogical. Well, that's happened now. So I'm going to go a little off script. One of the things that I think I have learned is that our intuition is not just a byproduct or this innate, like this inanimate object that has no consciousness. It is alive, it is conscious, and it is responding to us as much as we're responding to it. So this idea of trust, it goes both ways. Our intuition has to see that we're trustworthy, that we will listen.
I like that.
And I have watched that happen not only with myself, but many clients, that as they earn trust with themselves, their intuition takes off.
That is so true. I also feel like sometimes for some reason, along the same lines, people feel like intuition is some kind of test and we're supposed to get it right. But intuition is always trying to lead us. And I feel like the reason you get things 3 times or multiple times or whatever is because I don't think intuition is done talking yet, and it's like, it's not a test. It is something that we're supposed to experience and learn to let guide us. And I also think it's just very interconnected with everything.
Yes.
I think sometimes we worry about getting it right when really we should just be worrying about trusting. And that's really important. And that two-way trust happens the more experiences you have and the more you log things, the more you can kind of see the threads between them.
Yeah. And I will move on, I promise. But back to logging. One of the important things to note is how the brain works. Anybody's brain, everybody's brain works this way. Something happens. The Tiger Pea story. Every time Jennifer's brain revisits that story, it is overlaid with this moment that she visits the story in. If Jennifer's angry, there can be, or fearful, there can layer onto that memory fear or anger. We rewrite our memories every time we visit them.
That's awesome.
This is why the truth is somewhere between what you've experienced and what you've experienced. Somewhere in the middle is what reality is, because our brain will rewrite it and we encode it unconsciously. Nobody's like purposely going in and going, I'm going to layer in anger to this. No, your brain does that on its own. And that's why a story can shift over time, and especially if it's not true, if someone's lying, because the brain already does this naturally. So if there's no truth a grain of truth at the bottom of this, the story is going to drastically shift.
Wow.
Because that's how the brain works. It is an imagination tool, is part of what the brain is meant to be. It's creating our reality. And that's imagination. That's another word for intuition, is imagination.
I totally agree. There are so many times when my intuition gives me a glimpse of something or a feeling about something that my own imagination would have never come up with. I am very practical. And so the idea of even learning about intuition was weird to me because I couldn't see it, touch it, make sure 45 other people had done it before me, you know, things like that. And so I find it really fascinating that there's just so many, there's like limits to there's totally limits to my imagination. And so sometimes I get pictures of things and I think, I couldn't have come up with that because my brain doesn't go there, you know, that kind of thing. So I think it's pretty interesting to have conversations like that or interactions with your intuition and kind of see. I think you do have to have some imagination to engage with your intuition, because there's always a part of you that is wondering if you're a little crazy that you picked up something about someone else. And it's just part of it is going to be checking yourself and thinking to yourself, oh, I don't know if that's for me. I don't know if what just happened, you know? So, and also I think sometimes, and this is again, I promise I'm going to stop talking about journaling too, but this is again where journaling can come in, because just keeping track of things will help you go, well, I thought I was crazy here, but I wasn't. And it worked out fine. And so I think it's like a good reality check with something that you have to experience to really get it. And so it's a very different learning experience than a lot of other things. But
yeah, I am so glad you brought up that you think you're crazy. I honestly am going to question your sanity if you don't go through that process.
Yes.
I might actually think you are crazy if you don't think you're crazy.
Yes.
Learning to listen to your intuition.
Absolutely.
Because it's so far out of what is sane reality sometimes that, I must have lost my mind. I must be losing my mind. How would I know this? Why do I know? What is the point of me knowing this, right? That is definitely part of learning how to be in an authentic place where you're not cray-cray, grounded reality. All right. Well, we just had to take a quick break there. So we're back, and really fortuitous moments happened on our break that are kind of hilarious. And one of the things that we hadn't written down, but we just experienced that is so cool, and this is how intuition works in reality, is we had written, hey, let's talk about this or this. And so we were checking with each other. And it was like, oh no, that belongs in this episode. It doesn't belong here, which is brought us to the point of an intuition buddy. Having someone to go through this experience with that can check you of, actually, that is a little bit cray-cray. maybe let's test this intuition out, because should you give up all your possessions and join a nunnery? Maybe that is right for you, but maybe that's a little bit over the line. And having someone that you can say, look, I have my record, I've kept my journal, and every time this happens, that's the answer. But this feels really big and huge and a little bit cray cray. Can you please check me?
Absolutely. I also think when we feel close to something, that we sometimes worry that our bias is coloring any intuition that might be coming in.
Definitely.
So having an intuition buddy or someone to kind of check your work with, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's a really helpful thing, because if they pick up on the same thing, or maybe they actually could expand on the thing you're picking up on, it can help you not worry as much about your bias, or your bias getting in the middle of something where it doesn't really belong. I always say that just because you're biased doesn't mean you're wrong,
Correct.
but that doesn't mean you trust it as much too.
Right.
So a lot of times, even I'm a professional psychic advisor, and I still check my intuition a lot of times with people when it comes to my life, because
Yes.
especially if it's new and I'm like, what is that? Why are we going there? Or
Right.
whatever. And I say to someone, I've been getting this thing, and I just have really good intuition buddies that say, you know what, that feels great to me, or I don't know, maybe I need to look at it this way instead, or whatever. And so it's like having a really good friend who's also is working on this intuitive journey, and you're able to kind of check back and see how it goes.
Well, and this notion, as we were talking about, right? Maybe you don't really get the my intuition works through food. Every time I cook food, I get all this information. Or every time I take a shower, I get all this information, right? We all get it differently. So you get your stream this way and I get my stream this way. That's getting a broader picture. And
Absolutely.
so it helps. I do like that they can expand or contract of, well, yes, I get that for you. And do you realize this over here?
Yes.
Nope, I didn't realize that. Thank you so much.
Exactly.
So it gives us a broader picture sometimes, but it also helps us feel more sane,
Yes. I
especially
agree.
when we're starting out. So a great place for you to meet a a modern mystic intuition buddy. Ooh, that's a mouthful.
I like that. Though.
Is in our comments. Just on this episode, just note looking for an intuition buddy, and then you guys can hook up, right? And follow your intuition about which person to buddy up with. Start practicing. So, okay, we didn't know we were giving you homework in the comments, but now you have homework. I'm a rule follower. We mentioned this. Okay.
But I love that for any level of intuitive
Yes.
practice. So if you wanted to just try out your intuition on things that really are not earth shattering, like whether or not a big cat is going to spray you, but you just want to know, like, well, I don't know, what should I wear today? Or,
Yeah.
I started out practicing my intuition by kind of mentally going over what I was going to do the following day, because I shower at night. And so I would be like, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to do this and this, and I'm going to go here. And I would literally ask, is there anything I should add? And just see like
Love
what popped
that.
into my brain, or if I got a picture of someone, or heard someone's name, or got a feeling about something. And sometimes it would be almost like my mom in my head, like, it's going to rain, so take an umbrella, like that kind of thing.
Right.
But other times, like someone would just pop in and I wasn't thinking about them. I was just doing my, rundown of my plans. And so sometimes when things kind of come in,
Yeah.
when you're doing something else, you can just ask a very simple question like that. And then if I got a question about my answer, I could talk to my intuition buddy and be like, I don't know, but I was doing this and this person popped into my head. Do you think that means I need to call them? Do you think that means I need to check on them? That kind of thing. So,
Well, and I love this example a lot for multiple reasons. Yes, you can check with someone else. And what's the worst case scenario if you make the phone call and your intuition was wrong?
so true, because it's not life or death, right?
Yeah,
We're just
yeah.
trying things out.
Yeah, it's a great thing to try because there's really low stakes. And so that's part of this process of learning to trust your intuition is test it. Test it on
Absolutely.
things that don't matter. I'm at the grocery store. I should, buy this type of cabbage or this type of cabbage. It can be as dumb as that. And
Absolutely.
you trust and you get home and you cut and, oh, that cabbage isn't very good inside. Okay, so that's wrong. That's what this looks like. There's low
Absolutely.
stakes things that we can test on. And that's where we should begin.
I agree. I think you can build on it. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. I want to change my entire life. Intuition tell me what to do. I think you can build on a lot of things, and the smaller and less earth-shattering things you practice on, the more confidence you gain, so that when the bigger stuff comes in, you've already got a really great foundation.
Because we live in a world that is very procrastination oriented, because we have more than enough to do, we have more things that we can occupy our time, right? We get very bombarded. One of the ways that I prioritize my life is by consequence. What will I pay the biggest consequence for not doing?
Oh, I like
And
that.
it really clears things and makes it really black and white for me, because I don't like paying consequences. Or what is the best consequence, right? There's good consequences too.
Yes.
But I use that with intuition too. So if it's a very low consequence that I'll pay for getting this wrong, that's a great testing thing.
Yes.
So you can evaluate it that way. Is there, if I call my friend and she didn't need me, who cares? I got to talk to my friend. No consequence.
Exactly.
So that's a way to measure, is this a good time to test my intuition, that maybe your intuition isn't talking to you, but you want to start building that relationship of trust? Do it with low consequence, everyday interactions for relationships. Like you had a whole list of really great things. Job offers, that's a higher thing, but also not. Right? There's always going to be another opportunity in your life. And it's about getting to a point where you can trust the everything, that it will bring to you what you need when you need it. And let's say you get it wrong about the job offer and you shouldn't have taken this job. Maybe you didn't get it wrong. Maybe this was so you could learn about your intuition, and this was part of the plan all along, right? So part of this process is learning that you're going to get stuff wrong. And that is on purpose and part of the process, so you get better at this.
I agree. And I don't think that means your intuition is trying to trip you up.
No.
Or that it has some sort of, I don't know, trickster mentality or
Right.
something like that. I think a lot of times learning what the consequences are, intended or otherwise, is a great way for us to learn, and a great way for us to just kind of get to trust ourselves and our intuition even better. I also just find, like I told you in the beginning, I did all of this in the shower because, frankly, nobody bugs me for 5 minutes or whatever, and I'm not taking my phone in the shower, things like that. And water is this really lovely energy conductor anyway. I don't have to think about what I'm doing in the shower.
Right.
So I think there's something about spending time in nature, whether it is through the faucet in your home, or it's being outside, or it's petting the dog, or it's planting things or whatever. There's something about your hands and your attention kind of being a little bit more focused on something more natural that allows intuition to come through a lot deeper or a lot differently than if you just happen to be in the middle of two spreadsheets and you get a little idea or something. There's just something about making a little bit of time, mostly because I think nature helps us slow down a little bit and get a little quiet inside of ourselves, and a little bit of quiet, learning how to listen to your intuition through a little bit of quiet is a better way to understand how it comes through, so that when it comes in, when it's not quiet, you're not wondering if it's intuition or not.
Right. You can hear that voice a little better.
Yep,
Or
absolutely.
that feeling, or however it comes for you. I love that you brought up this idea of water as a tool, right? So another way to get nature is food. People really do get a lot of intuition when they're cooking, when they're gardening. So that.
Sure.
But really, I want to talk about tools. We haven't
Yes.
talked about tools. So
true.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of different tools.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. I feel like there's a lot. I mean, we already talked a little bit about journaling and that kind of thing, but I feel like the biggest thing that you can find, or one of the biggest things that people use that's a little more 3D for their intuition, is divination tools.
Yes.
So if you like pendulums or runes or tarot cards or the I Ching or whatever it is you do, divination tools have this really wonderful opportunity, or like dual purpose, of being ways that intuition can come through and also ways that you can confirm intuition. So, like I said, if I got a weird picture and I didn't have my intuition buddy and I wasn't really sure, I could say, kind of ask my intuition, I think I'm supposed to call so and so today, and I could pull a card or a rune or something like that and see if I was on the right track. So I think they can confirm things as well as be able to get information. And for some reason, looking at cards or holding
Physical.
crystals, or there's something about the 3D-ness of it that is very, very, sometimes we trust that more than we do what comes through our own body. And so it's really nice to have something that's a little less, I don't know, esoteric, or much more 3D to come through.
Yeah. The physicality of the tools
Yes.
sometimes helps our body calm down.
Absolutely.
And then we can hear the intuition a little better. One of the things I wanted to point out is we're talking about training the intuition. We're not talking about learning a divination system. So if you don't know tarot, this probably isn't the place to check your intuition yet. You can learn tarot and then use it as a guide for your intuition. But a pendulum, or if you've heard of muscle testing, where you can use your physical body to say, show me yes, show me no, and then your body will be the pendulum, right? Those don't really have a big learning curve to them. So if you're brand new, just starting out, and you're like, oh, I want to learn tarot. Awesome, learn tarot.
Sure.
But that's probably not the way you're going to get to check yourself today. So use a divination system like tea leaves, or something that maybe has an easier entry point than cards.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Just start smaller, start simpler.
Absolutely. I also think you can designate things as kind of yes and no.
True.
Even mundane things. So I used to have little like, they were kind of like marbles, but they were flat on one side.
Yeah.
Anyway, and some of them had yes and no on them, or some of them were like red
Right.
and some of them were green. And so I would kind of just pick one, and that would be my yes or no answer if I needed a little extra help. So you can kind of create your own too. But you're right. Like, your body as a pendulum, your body will move towards things that it feels good about really naturally. You don't have to make it do anything. You can just kind of feel if you're feeling a little drawn, or you're moving a little forward, or you're leaning forward. Sometimes that's just a really subtle indication that what you're
Yes.
doing is on the right track.
I think about body language. They judge the engagement of people by how leaned in or how back. If I've crossed my entire body away from you versus I'm open.
Yep.
Well, how am I when I get around that person? Is this person I should develop a friendship? Pay attention to your body language,
Yes.
to your own body language. Your own body knows
Absolutely.
how you feel about that.
That's so true. And since we're talking about your body in general, dreaming is a wonderful way to
Yes.
get in touch with your intuition and get your logical mind out of the way, because you're asleep. So sometimes I joke that intuition comes through dreaming just because we can't question it very much because we're asleep.
Right.
But if you don't remember your dreams, keeping a dream journal is a good way to get in the practice of that. And sometimes, especially if I'm just waking up and I don't want to forget a dream, I'll just use the voice recorder on my phone and start talking about my dream, and then go back and either look up symbols that were in it, or colors or numbers, or, that kind of thing. And I also love looking at dreams in a way that is more holistic, meaning like just looking at what the overall theme is,
Right.
things like that too. But dreams are a really great way for us to get insights without even really knowing it. And it's coming
Yes.
from inside our body again. So I would say you can either you can do a couple things. You could set an intention before you go to bed. It's called dream incubation, and it means, you just want to know the answer to something. And it could be simple like, what do I need to add to my schedule tomorrow? Or it could be, I don't know how to handle this situation at work, or I really want to improve my relationship with my significant other, or whatever.
Yep.
And just kind of think of it as you drift off. And you'll find that usually a lot of times the answer will come through your dreams. And it will be sometimes something really simple, sometimes very complex. But either way, it'll come from your intuition right through your dreams.
Yes. And to talk about this, the potency of not moving your body and recording on a voice recorder. So one of the things that I learned in learning hypnotherapy is change state. So when the body moves, like think how intertwined your muscles are chemically to your brain. When we change state, it changes state in our brain. And so that's why you move and your brain forgets. There's actually science to this. So I really want to echo this idea of having a voice recorder, even if it's just your phone and you hit record on that and you just stream of consciousness talk. Because even if it's not about the dream you had, some people really struggle to remember their dreams. It's not their gift. Doesn't mean your body wasn't giving you answers while you were dreaming. So if you just stream of consciousness record when you wake up, it's like that's the dream. Things will come out of your mouth that you'll listen to later and go, what? I said that?
Exactly.
So this is a really potent tool, even if you don't use dreams as a tool. The unconscious is still when we go to sleep, there's the bridge between the unconscious and conscious is fully open. And as we're coming back into conscious reality and waking up, it starts closing down. That in between, like twilight phase, where our brain is still in theta brainwaves, and we're still very receptive to messages from the unconscious or the everything, wherever you're getting that information from. It's a potent time right before you fall asleep and right after you wake up.
Mm-hmm.
So really excellent point, Jennafer.
Thanks.
Yes. We will get more into this in the coming weeks as we're still diving into what is a modern mystic and how to become a modern mystic. But I think we've covered some critical points of try it out, test it, practice.
Play with it.
Yes. There's no wrong way to do this.
Right.
You cannot do it wrong. You're not going to mess up.
Experiment. It's not testing, it's experiment.
It's playful. It can be very fun, in fact. And record it. Record this journey that you're on.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So I would love to hear what you guys are trying out. Tag us on social media. Tag us with your stories. You can leave comments. Look for your intuition buddies in the comments. We also are beginning a Patreon for our mystic folk that we would love you to join. And we will have some intuition exercises for you to download there, and maybe some trackers. If you guys are interested in that, we'll put together trackers for you. Let us know in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited to do this with you.
Yeah, very excited, and excited to hear what your journey's been like with intuition.
And last but not least, today's show has been sponsored by
Readings and More by Jennafer.
and Astrology Phoenix. Thanks so much for joining us,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.